The Ensemble podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. All discussion is limited to publicly available information and should not be interpreted as legal, professional, or financial advice. Ensemble does not hold an AFS license nor provide any financial services. Before making investment decisions, you should obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor.
Hey guys, it's Ben Nash here. I'm one of the co-founders at Ensemble and founder of financial advice company Pivot Wealth, which is my business baby I started from scratch a little bit over 7 years ago. In that time, I've leveraged some of the learnings of the Ensemble community to scale the business to become one of the better known financial advice companies for high income accumulators in Australia. And through this podcast, you can join me each Tuesday as I have the absolute privilege of interviewing some amazing people where I'm going to selfishly be able to learn and continue my journey to improve every area of my advice business. Hopefully you can learn a few things on that journey as well. Jump over to ensemble.com, and if you haven't already signed up, to learn and share from others, or simply download the app.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by NetWealth. Imagine a world where you can offer clients access to local and international investments. A world where you can engage with clients meaningfully, backed by powerful data and insights with mobile-friendly technology. A world where you can build business efficiencies through scaled managed accounts and bulk reporting. And a world where you can get all the latest news, research and insights to spot the changes that really matter. Wealth is more than just money. It's about opportunity and progress. A world of opportunity awaits you at netwealth.com.au/woo.
Hey guys, Ben Nash from the Ensemble team, and today I'm very pumped to be here with the man with the plan, Phil Thompson. When I say plan, I mean top knot. Phil, the financial advisor and founder of Skye Wealth, based out of the great state of Victoria. Phil, great to have you, mate.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nashy. Good to be here.
Mate, I thought a good place to start is really just your advice journey and how you've ended up where you are today.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I got into advice around 2011, I think, around about then, 2011, 2012. And early on, I owned an advice business. So the advisor I was working for exited pretty early for me getting in, and I just took the plunge and took over the business, which was fun, interesting, a whole bunch of learnings there. And then early on, I was AFA Rising Star nominee alongside yourself and a few other good friends of ours back in, I don't know, 2013, 14 or whenever that was. So that's when we first met. And then did holistic advice for quite a number of years, for like 8 years, and then was getting a little bit frustrated with advice, thought, oh, maybe I'll get out, or just saw the writing on the wall. And my view on advice was that you either need to go real high-end market, so ultra-high net worth clients, or you need to focus on one thing and do that one thing really well. And so my kind of desire and passion is to work with, clients just like myself, average Australian, average income. And so I saw that kind of, one of the only ways to do that, well, not the only way, but I found that a good way to do that was to move into insurance. Helps people make a really difficult financial decision, which insurance is, and we can do it at a low cost for the clients. Because the alternative was you got to charge really high fees to add value. And to execute the services that advisors need to do. So that's what we did. 2019, kind of 2020, we don't work with any clients other than insurance only clients.
And what did you do with your white clients?
So we partnered with another advice firm, actually up in Brisbane, because there was a bit of time where we went insurance only for new clients and we were managing the existing clients, and it just got too difficult. I realized that it was a little bit unfair on the clients to kind of not, I was still servicing them and still helping them, but if that wasn't my future, then maybe it's not fair on the clients. And I kind of realized that, as much as I think the clients love me and I'm important in this relationship, at the end of the day, it's whatever best for them. And so that's why we moved into just partnering with another firm in Brisbane and who were setting up an office in Melbourne. And so they work with our old clients now, and it's best for the clients, best for us, and best for the new business as well.
And so what's been the impact of that change on business growth, team growth? Like what did your business look like then and what does it look like now?
Yeah. The business then looked crap and the business now looks like good. So one of the big learnings, and look, I wish I did it much sooner. Like the reason we did it is, I saw, another thing is in the advice space, insurance advice, there's fewer advisors wanting to do it. Revenue would drop with regards to commissions. And so it was really difficult kind of space. And I thought if I come in and try and put a lot more kind of emphasis on the clients executing a lot of the tasks, and we kind of share that burden of getting insurance in place, we can make it a much more efficient business. So we've grown like significantly since we were doing, like I was trying to pretend to be an advisor back in the day and had like 2 staff. And now we've got, over 25 staff in the team and plenty of clients. I kind of wish I did it much sooner because the benefit is we know exactly who we work with and we know exactly the people who should be working with us. Before, it was kind of a little bit grey. I'm a financial advisor, can help in A, B, and C. But if you want A and B, we can kind of do that. If you want C and D, we can kind of do that. And so we weren't really clearly articulating exactly who we work with and who should work with us. But now it's very, very simple and easy what we do.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of obviously different ways to do advice, but I would agree with you that over time, like where we're seeing to be heading is that people are either you're an investment specialist, you're an insurance specialist, you're a business owner specialist, or you're a planning specialist, but a planning specialist needs to sort of cater for people that can pay an appropriate fee for a good quality planning service, which is, is now significant such that, as you say, it does sort of cut out a lot of the average income type Australians. They are probably priced out. I'm hopeful, maybe they can't, obviously won't be able to see my fingers crossed on the audio recording, but that this QAR stuff is going to move the dial a little bit, but I think we'll continue to see advice businesses play more in the higher value, higher fee space, and it means that there is a large market that are probably not getting serviced as well. Tell us, when you think about starting an insurance only business, essentially almost from scratch, even though you did have an existing business, how did you tackle that? How did you figure out what you do, what you wouldn't do, what you do differently, and how it would roll?
Changing all the time, and still changing, which is the beautiful thing. So I kind of just delved into it head first, and the last holistic client I worked with, I charged 20-30% above what I should have charged or what I normally charge, and they still said yes, and I still regretted doing it, and I still procrastinated and found other things I wanted to do. But so that was kind of the last advice client that wasn't just pure insurance. So when we moved to insurance only, we just kind of started solving problems and going, okay, what's some issues? So we, originally we weren't charging a fee at all. So we would say, hey, we will do a rough guide, a proposal for you to kind of go, this is roughly how much cover we think you need and roughly the cost, and here maybe the terms. And then we did a lot of work and we kind of built that out where as a part of that, we would do a pre-assessment. And then from that kind of proposal to the statement of advice, we would, get the clients to commit. Hey, if we do the advice and then you pull out, we'll charge you a fee. But we still weren't charging a fee up until then. And then we realized at that proposal stage, we actually did most of the work to advice. We actually pretty much were getting everything ready and doing all the research to provide advice, full pre-assessment, full quote analysis and everything. So I just was like, why don't we just give advice then? Which we did. And then we started charging for that and going, well, there's a huge amount of value here, whether they go ahead or not. It's not up for us to, decide for the client. They'll decide for themselves. So, we've moved to a stage where today what we do is we do a 15-minute phone call with the clients, just to give them an idea of what we do and just to really help them understand that we're only doing insurance advice. So if they indicate, oh, maybe I want help with super, cool, we're not the right firm for you to work with, we'll refer you on to someone who's kind of more suitable. And then, so that 15-minute phone call, we understand, and then we charge them a fee. So it's, we charge $330 for individuals and $495 for couples, we still call it an insurance proposal, but it's a statement of advice. And then, and then from there, they either go ahead as we tell them to, they change the quote if they want to, or they choose not to go ahead with any of the cover.
And then, so if they do proceed with taking up the insurance, then you just take the commission on the policies and there's no further fee at that point. Is that right?
Yeah, there is a little asterisk. So we do say, hey, if you sign off and say you want to go ahead, and then we do a whole bunch of work and then you pull the pin, at the end of the day, you don't have to go ahead with it, but we've done more work, we'll charge you a fee for that. And so that's in the advice where we say individuals at $750 once off cost if they go ahead and pull the pin. So, it's only 3 reasons we charge that. So reason number 1, they just decide not to proceed after signing off on the advice. Reason number 2, they get declined for anything we don't know about. So they've, haven't told us about drug use and go and tell the insurance company about drug use. Well, we did extra time. We asked you the questions, so we charge you a fee. Or if they cancel their policy and the commissions are clawed back. So there is an asterisk. I've charged it like 5 times in 1,200 clients that we've worked with. So we almost never charge it. But yeah, now our standard process, $330 for individuals, $495 for couples, and then the commissions on it.
I'm just trying to do some mental maths around those numbers there, because you just mentioned that you've done it with 1,200 clients and you started doing this in 2019. So how many clients are you guys typically onboarding on whatever cadence makes the most sense for you to think about?
Well, yeah, I thought you were going to ask me this question. So at the end of the financial year, what we did is we did a report that we sent back to the insurance company, say, hey, this is where our business is going and here's the issues we're finding with you. If we're doing heaps of business, great, but there's still things that we'd love to see improved. And if we're not, and I think we place, what was it, just less than 550 individuals last year. Wow. So like a couple, if they both got insurance, that'd be 2 people.
That's a huge number. And how many frontline advisors do we have?
So at the moment, we've got 3 advisors. We've got a PY as well, as a professional year as well. And we're trying to recruit another advisor at the moment.
And so you mentioned a little bit earlier that one of the things that you do is get the clients to do a bit of the more, like some of the heavy lifting to make it a little bit more efficient from your end. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we get the clients to fill in the fact find on their own. So full fact find on their own via an online form, and then and it's comprehensive. It's not just gives you income, debt, super balance. Because we do a full pre-assessment off the back of that fact find. So we get a fact find completed by them on their own, and we've got videos explaining why it's important and everything, and they can email it back and forward if they've got any questions. But we're not there sitting there doing that. We do tele-interview for every client, so we don't do any personal statements with the clients. So some of that stuff, it's not revolutionary. Most advisors would be getting their clients to do that stuff as well. But you talk to some advisors who will do like full meetings. Like your business, you do a number of meetings. That's right.
We do get the clients to complete their own fact find, but then we review that in detail and discuss it with them in detail, not every point, but anything that we think needs to be clarified. We do that after though they've signed on as a client and paid a deposit on our advice fees and that sort of stuff. But yeah, we don't necessarily sit with them to do that. But yeah, we do spend an hour and a half asking them questions before we go into doing our bit of the work that comes from that. Yeah.
And I mean, we'll still go back. Like if someone's got a BMI of 50, it's probably they've put the wrong number in because that's a really high BMI. So we just tactfully go back and just want to verify you're like the get. Because some people, we had a client the other day who put in pounds and centimeters for the height and pounds for the weight, and so BMI was massive. Everyone came back or declined. We had to just go back and say, hey, just is this correct? And she's like, oh no, I put in pounds. Like, who uses pounds these days?
My mum, I think.
That's right. Yeah. So we go back and we're still in advice. There's heaps of work and going back and forth with clients, but we try and make that process as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and obviously it's important, get with insurance, like you got to charge the fee. I think people respect that. They appreciate it. They take it more seriously. They take their decision to engage in the process more seriously, for sure. But also before they've purchased, and because as much as we like to think otherwise, it is a bit of a grudge purchase. You want to try and keep that as low as possible to get them until they can see what they're, that they're going to get all the peace of mind that they want as well.
I mean, look, also from a client experience, it's because we genuinely say you've got 3 options after the meeting. You take out everything we told you to, you change to the quote, or you don't go ahead with any cover. And when they pay us a fee, and everyone in advice understands it's not, we would go broke tomorrow if no one took our cover, because there's no way we can make that profitable just on the advice on that $4.95 for a couple.
Yeah,
but at least it helps the client walk away without feeling like, oh, I kind of owe you something because I didn't pay your fee and you've done this work for me, so I kind of owe you something, so maybe I'll go ahead with insurance. Our clients, if they don't want to get insurance, we comfortably feel okay because, well, we still got paid for our work, and they feel good walking away because there was a value exchange. I paid you money for this and I got this, and I walk away. And so it's actually good for both. The advisors not to feel like there's any kind of, sale, and the clients to feel comfortable with a genuine decision that they're comfortable with.
And what's you might not have this number or might not have it handy, but what proportion of the people that you do the proposal for end up taking up some level of cover? Do you know? Yeah,
I'd love our CRM to give us better data, that's for sure. But it's, anecdotally, it's probably, 70 to 80% that take out. Because, I mean, they've all paid a fee to be told. They all want insurance.
Yes.
They paid us money to tell them where and what and how. So it is a big portion. But some people, and it's reasonable. Maybe I don't do it just yet. Maybe I'll come back in a year's time. Or, we get a lot of people who we work with who say no and then they come back later.
Yeah, for sure.
He just pays another fee again. So
what's like
in the first place, but that's a game.
Yeah, I think, it's obviously the market changes pretty quickly, so it sort of makes sense that you've got to redo the work, and I suppose people understand that. Also, the fact that I think that the premiums go up each year, it sort of keeps a bit of an anchor point for people as well to know that, the more it runs away, the more they're going to end up paying. They pay more. It's not like just paying another $330 or $495. It's they're going to pay cover as well. Tell us what's been the most challenging part of that, not so much the transition, but rolling out essentially a insurance only solution. And obviously now you got to the point where you're onboarding that amount of clients in significant volume. What's been the biggest challenge in that for you?
I mean, efficiency is hard. So, this is something that we're kind of working on and thinking about at the moment is, we're working with all the insurers. We hate them all equally, the insurance companies. So we don't discriminate with insurers, but, which means we're working with like 10 different companies and their processes and got to manage that. But also, insurance is a space, like advice is very compliance driven, but within the investment space, there is a matter of like, if someone in the team accidentally ticks, the wrong Vanguard ETF within the investment portfolio, it's probably not going to make that much of an issue. You find out a year later, we invested in the wrong fund. All right, let's just fix it, work out, was there any performance difference? And you pay a check to the client for, 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever it is. With insurance, if we make a mistake and we cancel a client's policy for $1 million and they're uninsurable, then that's $1 million that we're on the hook for. So making sure we're an efficient business, but also with the right checks and balances. And I feel like over the last little bit, maybe we've gone too far in the checks and balances, and now our staff are experienced and understand what they're doing. We can kind of maybe scale back on the, let's check this policy is in place correctly 7 times. Maybe we can do it 5 times. So I feel like, how do we build efficiency without any downside to the client experience or downside to kind of, making sure we don't make any mistakes?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of things to check as well. Did you have an offshore? You got a big offshore team now. Did you have those the same team members when you started this journey, or is that something that you build out with the insurance piece?
Yeah, we didn't have a big offshore. I mean, I didn't have a big team. Full stop. It was a baby business basically, and so we've kind of grown pretty significantly in the last 12 months. Really, I felt like last year I was just interviewing people and just onboarding people, and so yeah, it's just been about like how do we grow and learn and change on a consistent basis. That's really what I've tried to learn and. But yeah, onboarding people and training people is really hard.
What's your top tip re offshore team onboarding in particular?
Top tip for me, like we think about in my business, I think about like how do we just build systems and processes? Like one of the things that is great about doing one thing is like the list of things to improve doesn't get smaller, but it just gets narrower. So, if you're doing, a lot of different things for clients, it's so hard to fix, how do we fix our mortgage broking, process in this little area? Or how do we help our investment implementation team fix that? Like the list is very wide and very long. But in our business, the list is very narrow, but massive in terms of what we can improve. So it's good because we can build in a lot of processes. Like I read the book Systemology last year, which is really good. Just kind of thinking about how do we build out better systems and really bring the team along that journey, because we've got people who are experts in the team and they can help build out the system. So maybe that's my top tip: read Systemology and follow some of it or all of it.
Yeah, I think. I know, like I'm a very process-minded sort of person, and for a lot of years, in fact, until just recently, I did take on all of that stuff myself. And it is, as your business grows, I think a number of systems, and I think we're pretty streamlined with how we do things, but it ends up being like a lot. Now we're at the point where different people in the business own the different systems, and it's a total game changer, because when something needs to change or be updated or refreshed, then they do it, and it doesn't sit on your list for, months waiting for something to happen and end up overwhelming as well. So,
and then, that was something that we did last year. We've got someone whose only job is business improvements. And every day, anyone in the team can have ideas on how to improve something. And then 3 mornings a week, we catch up to talk about what it is. And we kind of agree, like whoever's the stakeholder in the area that needs to be improved, we kind of say, let's do this. And this one person's job is to just implement it and do it. And because that was the issue. It was all on me. Phil, we need to fix this. We need to fix it. Cool. Just get to the back of the line because everyone's got suggestions. So we've got one person whose only job is just to fix, improve the business.
That's an interesting role. How do you hire for a role like that?
We didn't. We hired for a different role, and she was very, very good at it. And I was thinking about how do we do this? And I've gone, you're good at doing this. So I want to basically, that can be your only job, is fix these little issues, because I just want to always be moving and improving. But as it gets bigger and the beast gets a bit bigger, you kind of can, like, I feel like, I need to be a bit more cautious and thoughtful about these changes. And so, but I still want to move quickly. And so that's why I've just got one person to implement it, and then also understand the beast. And then so we can chat about any change, because everyone in the business has got great ideas, like the best ideas, because they're the ones doing it all day long. I've got no idea what most of the people do. So I want them to come up with the ideas of how to improve it and think creatively, and then just suggest it. And then it kind of goes through this filter process, and then we change it all the time.
Is that an onshore role or an offshore role?
Offshore. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So she came on as our marketing and kind of, CRM kind of expert. So to help us with our automations and stuff. And then, we had a chat and say, if you could do one thing long term, because as we grow, you start to hone into one area and be specialized in that one area. What would you prefer, marketing or like operations and improvements? And she said, operations. And, I geek out on that stuff. So that's what I want to do. And I said, perfect. That's what you do.
Happy days. Yeah. That's one of the advantages, I think, of having a growing business and a growing team, is that it does allow you that flexibility with where someone wants to take their role. So there's a lot of opportunities for different things you can be doing more of. So I know when we've been baking that into our progression planning with the team, it's like they can just take it wherever makes the most sense for them, and it sort of gels. So
I mean, I've got a question for you about that. Like, how do you think about that when you've got team members saying, "Oh, I think I want to be here," but as a business owner, like the business will probably prefer them there, and you see their skills working better in a different area. How do you manage that with those team members?
Well, I think you've obviously got to make sure that the short-term business needs are met. So, you bring someone into the business to do a particular role, so that they obviously need to do that role until then that you don't need them to do that role. But I think if people demonstrate capability and enthusiasm for doing a particular thing and they're good at it, then great, they can add more value to the business by doing that way. So we had like Tim in our team. He joined the business as an associate. He wanted to be an associate, wanted to be an advisor, and then he had he's right into systems and stuff as well. And he came to me one day and said, "Oh, I think we could track the workflow better for our onboarding process through using Monday.com." And he goes, "This is what it looks like." And he goes, "And by the way, I've put together this, rough outline of what this could look like." And I was blown away. And like, I'm a process guy as well. And so he showed me that, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, obviously there's a skill set there. So I said, well, great. I said, run with it. Let's do it. And he did. And we ended up using that approach, and it worked pretty well. Now we're not using it now because we've sort of leveled up our CRM since that time, but that to me demonstrated capability. And then I started getting him involved in more things, and then we had our practice manager was going on maternity leave. We had a real need for that role to be filled, and for me it's much easier to hire not that it's easy, but it is easier to hire an associate than it is to hire an operations manager. And he'd already demonstrated capability and had an understanding of the business, so he just sort of slotted into that role, and now he's absolutely crushing it and has been a total game changer for the way that we tackle what we do. Similarly, our team leader, the first offshore team member that we brought on, she's now running the team. Like, she's a team leader for the offshore team, even though she's moved. She was in the Philippines. She's now moved to Canada, but now she wants to do more on the operations side, and she's basically being like an implementation manager, running a bunch of client meetings, because we recognized that wasn't working the way that we wanted it to in the business. So she's doing more on that side. At the same time, though, sometimes people want to go down a particular path, and there's just not the ability to do that in the business. And I think that if you need to call that out. And if there is a plan to get there over the not so short term, then you can work towards that. But
I find it interesting. In our team, we've got some team members who say, "Oh, I maybe want to do paraplanning long term," and I see their role in client services and going, "Well, you'll be more valuable into the business where you are. You're good at what you're doing, and I can see more growth for you in this area." So I think. Personally, I think, and your personal, salary and everything like that is not going to increase over here, but the idea that, that's career progression for some people, and I personally am like, I think this is better career progression for you, for all of those factors. Those conversations are really interesting to go, because there is this, client services, then paraplanners is a step above, and my philosophy is, within our business, like I kind of, apologize to the advisors and say, look, one of the issues of being an advisor at Skye is you're not the hero. Like most advice businesses are. It's like the advisor, they're the pinnacle. They're the top dogs of the business. But at Skye, the way we think about it is like the junior client services officer is just as impactful in doing what we do and helps us do what we do, that they're really important. And so this kind of like outside thinking of like what is a hierarchy in a financial advice business, and then what I feel like is best suited for them and the business and their career is kind of, there is a little bit of a disjointedness, and having these conversations is really interesting.
I've had that same conversation with offshore team members wanting to move into paraplanner seats as well. And as much as it is really unsaid, I feel, and we know that it's not the case, I think it is driven in a large part by the fact that paraplanners get paid more money in the Philippines than non-paraplanner employees on average. And I think given that their overall their wages are, relatively low, they're not like super affluent, I suppose, from an income perspective that we've had, and like implementation team members, and they go, I want to do that. I'm like, you're going to make the same money. And when they really understand that and believe it, then they go, okay, well, yeah, like it's more of a, like you say, that it's a level up thing. But for us, like we've got, our implementation, and they were, we used to call them admin, but they're now essentially implementation people, that they're as important, perhaps more important when it comes to, the business opportunity than the paraplanner. Maybe not more important, maybe just as important. So
yeah, it is this interesting, staff and managing, what's good for them, what's good for me, and also put, I also think about how do I look outside of myself and go like, people are going to automatically think I'm being selfish, telling them I think this is in your best interest, because everyone's innately selfish. So, but how do I look outside myself and go, look, I actually do think like, and I say it straight. I say you're paid better than what you will be over here. I can tell you that today. And I think it's best for you. The only benefit I can see you doing that is finding a job external from Skye. And if that's why you want to do it, that's totally reasonable and it makes sense, and we can move you in that area. But there is no benefit in terms of salary, in terms of within Skye, other than you can tell a potential new employer, hey, I'm a paraplanner as well. I've got that skill, and you become more employable, and which is a legitimate concern. And and everyone's got to think about where even I do. I own the business, so I've got to think about where if everything turned to crap, what would I do?
Sometimes though, I think people just really want to do the work. Like we've got a young advisor that we put into a sales seat, and he's crushing it in sales and relationship management in the business. And I really want him to stay in sales, but he really wants to be an advisor. And so I'm like, I have to be supportive of that. So as much as I think he probably could earn more money, he could certainly add more value to the business. He wants to go down.
It's just about understanding. Is your motivation because you want to do that work? If that's the case, great. But if your motivation is these external kind of made up factors, maybe we have a chat about it.
Absolutely. What's coming up for you, Phil? What are you focused on now?
Continue to grow. We're just kind of doubling down. Really is our aim. Like for us, there is a continual trend for advice firms to get out of insurance. Less advisors are doing insurance. Like, when we caught up the other day and someone tried to pitch you a service, it was really an interesting conversation we were in. And you're just like, well, we don't really do insurance. Someone's trying to sell you an insurance product. I think that's a big trend. Advisors are getting out of it. It's too hard. It's very complex, it's high risk. And so we're just going all in on that space. And unfortunately, the ability for clients to get insurance advice is only diminishing. And so I only see kind of, upside in our business.
Love it, mate. It's good to see. My last question for you, and I'll put a caveat on this one, but the question is, if you could go back and do one thing differently, what would it be, other than getting into insurance-only advice sooner?
Yeah, so, well, that's my answer. So let me have a think about it. What would I do different? I think when I first took over the business that I took over, I was very concerned about a whole bunch of things. Our client's going to leave. I've just spent a whole bunch of money that's not my money, someone else's money who lent it to me on a business. How do I secure this? And just being less worried about that and more thinking about, like, how do I just build a good business? How do I build processes? How do I actually grow and bring on new clients? That's the hardest thing about advice, is not as hard at the moment. Like, we're kind of living in a golden era where there's more clients than anyone can service. But back when I started, back in my day, I found it really, really difficult to find new clients. And I was focused on things that weren't impacting that ability to find new clients. Because when you got clients, you'll solve the problems later.
Yeah. Our business coach says the answer to all problems is more sales. It's more sales, more money, more ability to solve problems in different ways. So
yeah, and that was the case for us when we just started really getting a lot of leads. Like, that's why we just iterated so quickly. It's because we had to. Like, when you don't really have the clients and you try and solve the client experience before you got any clients, Like, it's so stupid. What are you solving? You're just imagining this idea that clients will love you for this or not like you for this. And we all did it. All young advisors did it. We thought about our amazing solution before we even had a bloody client.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think when you start doing volume, you immediately start seeing the pressure points and what can we improve, or what keeps coming up, or what's a recurring issue. It's a good way to identify things. It's just resourcing. And if you've got enough clients, then you can resource appropriately. If you don't, then you sort of can't as well. So
yeah, correct.
Mate, I love that. Thank you for sharing your insights. It's great to see from the sidelines. And yeah, mate, thanks again.
No worries. Thanks for having me.